or at Baton Rouge, it would give opportunity to everybody. You would have it on a campus facility. You would take away a game during the season so these kids don't play 17 games during the year like they do in the NFL. You'd have a way to structure it to where 6 or 8 would be right. But 4, even though it's better than 2, is not the right way because you have 5 conferences, and if you value conference titles and conference championships, 5 is bigger than 4. So I know the bowl games are big, but honest to God, this Florida-Virginia game in the Orange Bowl, I worry about who's going to get up for this. I mean, I think they'll get up for it because it's a bowl game in Miami, but honest to God, Virginia, is anybody on the street talking to you about Virginia right now?
No, but here's the thing about the Orange Bowl. I don't like the tie-ins anymore with the new system.
I don't either.
Because it would be
the
much
team
better.
lost 62-17.
Right, but they're the second best team supposedly
in that
the ACT,
league.
so they're a lot slotted to go to the Orange Bowl. Florida sold out their allotment of tickets in less than 2 hours, so the Gator fans are excited. I think it's great for Gator football to be down in Miami for 10 days or whatever for recruiting purposes.
Sure.
And we have an opportunity to win 11 games and go 11-2.
Coach,
this hasn't been done in years, so the program's headed in the right direction. I'm happy we're playing in the Orange Bowls. I think it's, like I said, great for recruiting. Should be a good night. I don't think Virginia has much of a chance.
I feel bad for Bryce Perkins.
Right.
I mean, it's going to be an awful night.
But again,
you can't block
think
anybody.
about Virginia's athletic program, what's happened in the last year. They won the national title in basketball. I think they won it in either soccer, lacrosse, or...
Well, they've won it, have they not? Yeah, they've won the College World Series too, haven't they?
I'm talking about just this year.
Just this year, sure.
Yeah, they have multiple national titles. Their fan base has to be excited to go to the Orange Bowl. So we'll see. I think it'll be a good crowd. I think Florida wins handily if they take care of business. You're looking at that bowl game. We only have one kid. We try to enhance their status in the draft.
And they should. And it is a good thing. There are bowl games, though, where the teams aren't going to look anything like the teams that played during the season. I'm sure Alabama will have a bunch of guys sitting.
I was gonna bring up Alabama. You being an Alabama alum, obviously you're with the way the 4-team playoff has come about. On other radio shows that I'm involved with, there's so many people. Like when Florida lost to Georgia, it pretty much took us out of the chance to go to the playoffs, win the SEC. People are like, season's over. Mm-hmm. Well, you're still, Florida has a chance to go back-to-back 10-win seasons or more. It hadn't been done around here in a long time. I know Alabama feels like their fans feel like the season's over. Nobody cares. Nobody's going to show up in Orlando for the Citrus Bowl. You think?
There. Yeah, there'll be some fans. There was in 2010 when they played Michigan State. We actually had half the stadiums full. For some reason, I went to that.
So are you going?
Because my son lives there.
Oh, you are going.
Well, Jack lives there. I mean, it would be a good way to watch some of the newer players who are going to play for that team next year maybe get a chance to play. It's not going to be. You're not going to see Jerry Jeudy sell out and play in that game. You probably won't see Devontae Smith play in that game or Henry Ruggs even play in that game. You won't see Tua, obviously, because of the injury. There will be a lot of guys on defense who may be new that will play that haven't played a whole lot this year. I think they'll try to win this game against Michigan. I think they want to obviously win this game against Michigan. I don't know, though, if the base is all as excited as you would typically be for a trip to Florida on January, like in Iowa. Hawkeye fan base. It's okay. It's going to happen once in a while. You're not going to make the playoffs every year. It's all right. They're going to be all right, Alabama. And I think you don't have to worry about it. Yeah, I really think so. This early signing period, when is it, December 15th?
I believe it's the 18th.
Is it the 18th?
I don't know,
okay, so it's one of these days that are upcoming. And when you've got 20 kids that are committed who are going to be on campus in January, I think you have a lot to be happy about. I don't think you're really struggling. I think you have to get people healthy. And I also think, since we're on this topic with Alabama, you're going to see this quarterback come back. I don't think he could really be drafted with the value that he may have had before that hip injury. Because QB, you've been injured before. You know how it is. There's no way that anybody can handicap the health of this kid with a hip replacement or a hip injury or whatever the hell it was.
Yeah, I mean,
he gets hurt. He doesn't play an entire season. He has yet to play a full season without being banged up or hurt or unavailable in some capacity. And we're talking about putting him in the first round in a 16-game, 17-week schedule. It's not realistic.
He's fragile. There's no question.
Yes,
about it.
he's fragile.
He's a tremendous talent, but
Tua is who we're
he's
talking
missed
about.
a bunch of games.
Tua.
He's way bigger than I was, and I never missed a game.
He's bigger than you?
Well, weight-wise.
Oh, weight-wise.
I mean,
but you were a 90s guy. Everybody was smaller in the 90s.
I don't know about that.
That's not true.
They were still hitting, and
they didn't have a Georgia offensive lineman in the 90s. Those guys weren't
He doesn't
there.
play against the Georgia offensive
I know,
line.
but I'm saying you didn't see people play. I don't know. I just remember
Curry
players
and
not being as big.
Curry and Copeland and George Teague and that whole crew weren't big at Alabama.
No, they were. They were. I think on average though, you have bigger players today.
Well, that's true, but he's also big. I mean, everybody's bigger, stronger, and faster these days. But my point is, he's fragile.
He is.
He's extremely fragile.
I mean, that hit against Mississippi State didn't even look that bad. I mean, he was just trying to escape tackling.
The biggest issue at Alabama
shouldn't have been in the game. But anyway,
is playing defense.
Well, it is, and they'll have to get healthy. But Florida, getting back to the Gators for a minute, this defense is going to absolutely tee off on this poor Virginia team that can't guard anybody. We saw what Clemson was able to do to them. And so it's going to be a real event for Gator fans. Now, here's something I'm just going to bring up real quick, and you don't have to spend much time on this, but I heard somebody say, when the Rams beat Dallas this weekend, you know where I'm going with this. When the Rams beat the Cowboys this weekend and Dallas falls to 6-8 and ends up virtually in a lockup with Philadelphia for that division, guess who's going to get a call from Jerry Jones to coach the Dallas Cowboys?
It's not Dan Mullen.
Okay.
It's not. So you can forget about that. Because here's one
You
thing.
already know that.
Yes, I know that. Because here's the thing.
It hasn't happened yet, is all I'm saying.
But
that's what.
Here's the problem. The Cowboys they need a lot of. They got a lot.
There's
of
one
overhaul.
reason why Dan Mullen's going to get a call. One.
Why?
Dak Prescott is why.
So you don't think Dak Prescott's playing well?
I do.
Okay, then what is Dan Mullen going to do with him?
Because
here's the thing.
Well,
First
what
of all,
is he going to do with him?
First of all, the Cowboys have a lot of issues with their program. It's not just the coach.
They are. I get it. But
know,
Garrett's had enough time. He's had 10 years.
I agree. I agree
We'll
with
lose
that. But the money they're talking about paying Dak Prescott, and we've somehow now we're on the NFL. It's ridiculous because he's probably middle of the pack quarterback in the NFL.
Okay, but he is going to get something to stay in Dallas because I don't think they're going to let him go. And it's going to be a top 10 money.
Which is crazy.
Well,
absolutely
look,
crazy.
Everything's crazy when you talk about money like that. Did you see what Garrett Cole's going to sign for with the Yankees?
He's legit. He's the best pitcher
I
in
know,
baseball.
but did you see what he's going to get per year?
But my point is,
it's
he's the
crazy.
best pitcher in baseball.
Yeah, he is now.
There's 10 quarterbacks I'd take before I'd take
David
Dak
Price
Prescott.
gets $31 million. I mean, he's not the best pitcher in baseball. So everything is kind of inflated. We know this.
Well, anyway, back to college football.
I brought it up because Dan Mullen's the name. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, he's not going to leave here. He loves college football. His wife likes it here.
No, they're trending up. They're trending up. If you're buying Florida stock right now, you're bullish.
And you know one reason why it's trending up because we're winning. But we're getting ready in a year and a half, 2 years. We're going to have the best football facility in the country.
Look at the plans.
Better than yours.
Mine. The John Cornell football facility at Tuscaloosa at Alabama.
I thought I saw your name on it when I was there.
My facility.
But anyway, let's talk about the coaching hires. There
was a lot of changes.
3 new coaches in the SEC. What are your thoughts? Which one did you like best?
Well, I think believe it or not, I think Missouri got a real steal in this guy, Elijah. Even though he's only been there 1 year or something, to do what he did at Appy State.
Well, he took over a team that was pretty good.
It was okay, but and then I think the best hire, though, I think will work out the best, I should say, will be the guy at Arkansas because where can you go but up at Arkansas?
That's true.
So I like that one, but of course the headline hire has to be my guy Lane. He is my guy, Lane Kiffin. What did they mean, though, when they were saying, welcome home, Lane Kiffin? What's that got to do with welcome home? Is he from Oxford?
No, I think welcome back to the SEC is the only thing I can
welcome
think of.
back that way.
Yeah,
okay.
No, he's not from Mississippi.
No, he's not from Mississippi. I didn't understand that. So anyway, I don't understand a lot of things at your school at Mississippi because, they don't know if they're bears. They don't know if they're sharks. They don't know really if they're rebels or what they are. I don't know what their mascot is. Nobody can really tell who they are. It's a program that's never been to the SEC championship game. So there's all kinds of upside there, but you're playing in the West. Now, Lane Kiffin, will he do well at Ole Miss, you think?
I think so. I think a school like he's a really good play caller. He can scheme very well. The thing at places like Ole Miss, Mississippi State, the Vanderbilts, the Kentuckys, you need to have some type of coach that's not afraid to take chances.
Yeah.
And he will go out and recruit well, whether it's legally, illegal, who knows at Ole Miss. But the way he calls plays will give his team. They'll upset a team in the West next year that they're not supposed to beat, just because that's what they do. And then you think about Hugh Freeze. How did they beat Alabama twice? Throwing the football. That's why I can't understand. I understand where Arkansas went. Chad Morris was a wide open offense, but he had to take over a program from Brett Bielema that it was a run oriented. Mm-hmm. So I think with Sam Pittman, who's an offensive line coach, great recruiter, taking over there, I don't know what the identity is going to be at Arkansas. It's going to take some time there.
Yeah, they have to recruit.
I do like Drinkwitz going to Missouri, but they're not going to be relevant. There's only 5 relevant teams in the SEC.
Yeah.
It's Florida, Georgia in the East, and it's Alabama, Auburn, and LSU in the West. I thought Texas A&M eventually might get into that mix.
They're like Tennessee. They're trying to get there. They have a chance, but at some point they could be, because they have the resources at A&M.
They do.
Let me tell you
but Jimbo, who I think is a very good football coach and play caller, they've beaten no one. You know, Kevin Sumlin was going 7-5 every year.
Yeah. So they don't need to pay a guy $8 million a year to go 7-5. That's the whole point.
Next year I think is a huge year for Jimbo.
Well, it is, but look, if they think they're just going to run on up and win the SEC West because it's that time, they're going to have to show me why. I don't think A&M's issue, I think, is the fact that they recruit okay, but hasn't it always been something with that team that's missing? When they had Johnny Manziel, when they had all these great players, Mike Evans, it was their defense that was a problem. And so there's always something wrong with A&M. I don't know really. It's a weird program. I can't really understand why they don't win more. And it's the same thing with Texas. I don't understand why they can't win more or don't win more. And maybe it's because of who else is in that conference.
Again, our text line, if you want to send a text, we actually just got one. It's 352-353-7465. That's 353-7465. This is text from Jim.
353-7465.
Yeah. This actually is for you, JC.
You got Jim in here?
Jim. Oh, Jim from Newberry. He wants to know.
Okay.
He wants to know, with the Alabama Crimson Tide, are you concerned with how LSU played this year? Mm-hmm. Is a changing in the guard in the West?
Well, it is, because when they hired Orgeron and Orgeron saw what happened the first year he was there, he realized that if he doesn't change something, nothing will get better. And so by getting Joe Brady and putting Steve Ensminger in there with him and getting Joe Burrow to open up the offense, to feature wide receivers, to scheme differently, means that they are going to score points. And I don't think their defense is nearly as bad as people want to make them out to be. I think Dave Aranda isn't going anywhere. So if Dave Aranda's not going anywhere, I don't see why everybody would be concerned about their defense. I think they're fine. Don't be fooled by the fact that Vandy scored 38 points on LSU's defense. When LSU wants to play defense, they'll play defense. You can ask Georgia. And I think, yes, they are the primary threat to Alabama, which they always should have been, and now finally are. Even though Burrow is going to go to the pros next year, somebody else will step in and they'll recruit better now at the offensive positions than they have in the past, because it hadn't happened before. And now that it's happened for LSU, they should be able to recruit good players there.
Yeah, and
to play quarterback.
Yeah, so I do think LSU has kind of closed the gap big time on Alabama.
They won.
And I think Florida has closed the gap on Georgia. And the reason I say that is they just lost their best recruiter in Sam Pittman. But Kirby, until he changes his philosophy on offense,
he's going to.
He's going to have to.
He has to. He sees it. You can't win without putting points on the board. I know defense wins championships, blah, blah. You cannot win football games. Well,
that's the dumbest.
That's quote. Just a cliche.
Yeah.
But
you got to score to beat the other team. Of course, you're going
to say that. You're the QB. But I get it. You attack defenses if you want to win.
Well, okay, last time I checked,
but
whether you're playing basketball, football, baseball, the team with the most points wins. And the object of the game is to win. So you have to outscore the other team.
When you checked that, did you doubt it?
Huh?
You said the last time I checked, the team that scores the
most points. No, I didn't doubt it at all. I'm just letting you know to hell with defense wins championships.
Well, listen, you still got to keep some people off.
You
You don't want to turn it into a Big 12 game like Alabama and LSU played.
I agree.
Even though that was entertaining, it really was. I mean, when LSU wanted to smack Georgia around defensively, they did it, and it didn't matter what Jake Fromm tried to do. It didn't matter. Now, granted, there were some injuries on Georgia's side, but who cares? It's Georgia.
All right, we're going to take a quick timeout.
Let's take a time. Let's get a
We'll
TO.
come back. This is Pod Up with Shane Matthews. He's JC. I'm the QB.
Yes, you are.
We'll be right back. Welcome back to Pod Up with Shane Matthews. We're live Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. right here on Facebook Live and YouTube.
Yeah.
Text line 352-353-7465. That's John Cornell, better known as JC. We are JC and the QB.
We are.
We're excited for our new podcast. Advertising and sponsorship opportunities
everywhere
are coming soon.
Yeah.
We got people chatting over here on Facebook.
Chatting on Facebook right here. This Rick sounds like JC put Red Bull in his coffee. No, we have V8.
He has 5-hour energy.
I'm naturally full of energy, and then this is water. Because this has so much sodium that if I don't drink this, I won't be able to talk.
Well,
so,
first of all,
man, we talked football.
Yeah, I want to talk college hoops real quick. Last night,
okay,
what, you have some
we
text?
got a text
Okay,
message.
but hang
Go
on.
ahead.
Last night, this dude named J.J. Culver, NAIA, Wayland Baptist, scored 100 points in a single game.
Oh, that's impossible.
This team won 124-60. He scored 100 of their 124. He was 34 of 62 from the floor.
Wow.
12 of 33 from three-point land.
That's incredible. Sounds
Have
like
you
he
ever
was
scored 100 points at the YMCA?
Yeah, it was close, but it sounds like he was a ball hog there, QB.
Well, he was hot. So when you're hot, a good coach gives the ball to the guy that's scoring.
I don't know where Wayland Baptist is, but I'm sure folks got their money's worth there to watch that 100-point performance. Didn't Wilt Chamberlain score 100 points once?
I think so.
Something like that. Kobe must have. I think Kobe scored 80 once, too. I don't know. So our text line is 352-353-7465. Taylor will get it and tell us what we have, but we have one already. And QB, it focuses on the Florida basketball program, which has kind of gotten off to what I would say an inauspicious start this year. High expectations going in. The question is a very simple one from Reed in Newberry. Again, another Newberry texter. What's going on in Newberry? Reed says, why can't Florida put the ball in the basket? What's wrong with the scoring production?
Well, that's a great question. You know, Florida sits at 6-3 right now. Their three losses are at Connecticut, home to FSU, who's a ranked team, and on the road to a ranked Butler team that was undefeated until they lost last night in a close game.
At Butler in Indianapolis.
Yeah, so they have some good losses if you want to say they're good losses. But they were preseason ranked number 6 because of the kids they had coming back. They had 3 starters coming back. They added Blackshear, the top transfer in the country, and then they have 2 5-stars in Trey Mann and Scotty Lewis, and some other people. So the biggest thing is, they had good offense against Butler. Had open shots, didn't knock any shots down. It's one of those deals where, for whatever reason right now, we cannot score. My theory at home is I think the rims are too tight in the O'Connell Center. I'm a former basketball player, and some rims are tighter. You look at Cameron Indoor Stadium in Duke, they have the loosest rims in the country. They score points there. Now, college basketball is different because they move the three-point line back, JC, so shooting is down around the entire country. There's no dominant teams this year. North Carolina's already lost 3 times. North Carolina scored like 35 points or 40 points at home in a loss the other night. 4 different number 1 ranked teams this year have lost to unranked teams.
Wow, yeah, right. I remember the big one, of course, was Duke losing to Stephen Austin.
In Cameron Indoor.
It's crazy.
Kentucky has lost at home to Evansville.
Lost to Evansville.
So there's a lot of parity in college basketball. Last night, Louisville was undefeated, number 1 ranked team. They lost to Texas Tech.
Yeah, Texas Tech. I think it's one of those things where in basketball, to me, and this could be flawed, but to me the season really starts when the conference play happens in the new year. It goes through 2 years. It goes through the end of one year into the new year. And teams are, I think, obviously they get better as you go, or they could get worse, I suppose. But that's when, to me, I really pay attention to some of these games. I don't think anybody's confusing Stephen F. Austin for Duke. But it doesn't surprise me that at the end of a semester for these players, whenever Duke has their exams and whatever the case may be, throw out any excuse you want to, that Duke team wasn't ready to play that night. And I don't think you would ever catch them playing in the ACC in January or February unprepared to play a game. And sometimes I think it has to do with the time you play these games. And good for Stephen F. Austin to take nothing away from them. But honest to God, what's Evansville doing winning it in Rupp Arena? So it's a basketball game, true, but I think basketball, to me, and this could be completely backwards, but I think the season should start in January, honest to God, and go to May and have May Madness. Really.
Well, then you got college baseball season, but. No, it's good because they have all these tournaments. Florida won the Charleston tournament. You got the Maui tournament. You got the tournament in the Bahamas. I think it's good for kids to get away. You play good quality opponents on neutral courts because what happens when it comes postseason. You can
still go to the Bahamas in January, by the way.
No, I understand that, but that's when they start. That's when you start conference play.
Well, if you had May Madness, you would start conference play in March or February or something like that. To me, basketball
they're not going to change that.
No, I know, but it's an idea, kind of like our football idea with the playoffs. We've got 4. Could we go to 8? How would we construct an 18 playoff? What else you got over there?
No, I think Florida is a team that is struggling right now because they have so many new pieces. They're 6-3. They play Providence. They have they had 10 days off because of exams.
Yeah,
and
sure.
stuff. So they play Providence on Tuesday night. Speaking of Providence, I spoke to the Titletown Gator Club last night here in Gainesville.
Very nice.
Great group of people.
Sure.
They're going to have a viewing party for the Providence game at Gators Dockside here in Gainesville next Tuesday night. And they're doing a toy drive for Toys for Tots for Shands Children's Hospital. So if any of our listeners out there want to help them with the toy drive, take a toy to Gators Dockside next Tuesday night and watch the Gators play.
And watch the Gators play. It's always a fun environment when you have a bunch of fans sitting around watching the game on the big screen. And the other thing I really can't get into right now yet is NBA. I know a lot of folks get excited about the NBA. I think LeBron in LA hurts the league, although I don't know if the Lakers winning would ever hurt the league, but certainly nobody really sees him as much as they may have if he were playing in the East. And of course that's where most of the people live in this country, but I think the NBA is a league that I couldn't give 2 rats' rear ends for until the playoffs. And it just seems to me that when you have a couple of good teams and then 15 or 17 real lousy teams that you couldn't tell 3 players who plays for, it's just so top heavy. I don't really have much interest in that. Do you watch NBA?
No, I don't. I watch the NBA. Once the
anyway.
playoffs start, I'll watch it. Same thing with Major League Baseball. They're such long seasons, and
It's
a lot of the
crazy.
games don't matter until the playoffs start.
So speaking of baseball, we have potentially an offer for Garrett Cole from the Yankees to go from Houston to New York for only about $324 million, which averages out to be close to $36 million per year. Strasburg had the biggest contract prior to this one, re-signing with the Nationals. He also will average in the 30s per year. Is that just obscene money for a guy whose arm could blow up at any given moment and who basically plays once, maybe twice a week?
Yeah, it's crazy.
I know pitchers are great, but we're talking about a starting pitcher.
I agree, but your team is the one paying him all this money. Y'all always throw a lot of money around.
Did I sign with the Yankees yesterday, Taylor? I did. So yeah, I know.
Signed you for what? $5 a game?
I mean, if you average it out, what he's making turns out to be almost what you make in this podcast once, per minute. So it's crazy.
It is crazy.
So we'll have that. Strasburg re-signing with Washington. This is the hot stove league. We won't go too deep into that at all. But baseball is. The Nike came out with the new Yankee uniforms. I just wanted to vomit all over the dashboard. Well, they showed a template of what the Yankee uniforms would be should they be with Nike. It has the Nike swoosh here, and the pinstripes are big, and they're very. I mean, you're a uniform guy. You would hate it. Huh. But this is it's online. But baseball. I don't know. Right now, the college football environment to me is more interesting than anything else that's going on. Even though we're at the end of the season, and the four teams that are playing. If I want to get back to that for just a second, LSU, Oklahoma, Clemson, and of course the Ohio State Buckeyes. Did they get the seeding right? I want to go back to that for a minute because we didn't mention that when they took LSU from the 2 seed to the 1 seed. All right. And they did that likely because of Ohio State's struggles against Wisconsin. But I'm going to bring out another issue of why they did that. And this may not make sense to you, QB, because you don't really consider this very important. But I think geography had a lot to do with it because I think they want LSU to play in New Orleans. And the best way to get them to New Orleans is to put them up against Oklahoma in Atlanta.
I agree with that. But I think LSU deserved the number 1 spot.
There it is. Thanks, Taylor. You got to show them that. But that's the Yankee uniform. But
I don't see it.
Well, it's down there in the left corner.
Oh, okay. Well, LSU deserved the number 1 spot for what they did. And as you said, Ohio State struggled championship game against Wisconsin. So it was a no-brainer because they destroyed Georgia. They could have won that game about 50-7 if they wanted.
Oh, yeah.
But here's what's interesting. Ever since the 14 playoff has come about, the number 1 ranked team
has not won. No, they have not. In fact, neither has the 3, I don't think. But you're right. So Ohio State gets to go out to Arizona to play Clemson. I don't think Clemson really cares. I mean, has anybody paid attention to their season at all, basically? They've had one game where they really had to struggle to win, or they struggled and ended up winning, and that was, of course, against North Carolina. I still tell everybody that even if North Carolina went for 2 and made it, or had made that 2-point conversion, Clemson had 1 minute and 24 seconds left to win the game. So that doesn't mean that they would have lost North Carolina had Carolina converted. But LSU 1, Ohio State 2, Clemson 3, and OU 4. Does OU stay within 20 points?
They could.
And we'll talk about this as we get closer.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think LSU can name the score.
They can name the score?
I really do. I just think their defense has played better. I think Jalen Hurts will cause some problems because of his running ability. But he's been turning the ball over way too much. I just think LSU's the best team. Again, you're listening to Pod Up. He's JC. I'm the QB. If you want to send us a text, we just got one. The text line is 352-353-7465. Fred from Orlando says, guys, love the show.
Oh.
Can the Gators make the Final Four next year?
Is next year meaning in 2020 or the following season?
No, he's talking about the next football season, I guess. He didn't.
Can make the Final Four. Shoot,
We're not talking about basketball.
Okay. Why not?
Well,
why not? I mean, they'll have to recruit some depth, I think, up front. They need to get some more players for some depth. I thought depth was the reason why they struggled with Georgia, although they made it close and kept it close. But Georgia was really the better team that day, obviously. And I think depth is the glaring weakness for Florida.
My thoughts on next year, if you look at our schedule, it's much easier. It's basically a two-team schedule.
Yeah, you have LSU here and
right.
Georgia.
LSU's going to lose Burrow. They're going to lose a couple other skill guys.
They will.
They'll still have talent, but I think Florida will be the favored team being in the
Who's
swamp.
the crossover game?
We go to Ole Miss.
Yeah,
But and then it's going to come down to the Georgia game, and I would, everybody, all fans can go back and say, I wish we could play this game again. I really wish we could play the Georgia game again because I don't think we played our best. Obviously, we made a lot of mistakes. I don't think we coached our best game. And Jake Fromm and their offense had the best game of the year. He made some incredible throws.
Well, they had Cager. I mean, he had a receiver. He didn't have that kid
right,
for most of the season.
But he made some tremendous throws under duress, perfect throws, and you got to give him credit. But I do think Florida will be in the talk next year because of the schedule.
Okay. You're not worried about playing at Tennessee?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Not at all.
Okay, well, there's always that one game, but no, I can't disagree with that. I think there's absolutely a great chance, but even if you get to the SEC championship game, and the East has had some issues with that here in the last 10 years, doesn't mean you're going to win it. But
if you get to the SEC championship game undefeated,
you could still
even
punch
if you
your
lose
ticket
it, you
go.
could still make it.
And that was the case for LSU this year. I mean, if Georgia had somehow won that game in a close game, LSU would still be in the tournament. They'd probably be the 4 seed, or the 3. But it's a good question, and we thank you for listening and watching. Facebook Live and on YouTube, you can catch Pod Up with Shane Matthews with JC and the QB here when I'm available to come, and I'm mostly going to be. So this will be a fun time for us here in the next 30 days, 40 days to get this thing started and to really crank it up in 2020.
Yep, and we're going to have some really good guests throughout the year.
We're going to have guests. We are going to have just a lot of fun events and activities. Who knows where we'll end up? I mean, you can do a podcast anywhere. So, but we do this in a location up here in Alachua, and we're happy to be in this. I don't know what the studios will be called, but somebody will name our studio here, and that'll be exciting for us. So there's a lot to look forward to as we get cranking on this endeavor, and we encourage your participation, of course, through our text line at 352-353-7465. We're going to do this for an hour every day, Monday through Friday, from 8 o'clock basically up until the top of the hour.
But the great thing about podcasts, which that's the way the world's going today, is you can watch it anytime you want.
You can watch it anytime you want, and you can also participate like we had with Rick, who was discussing my drinking here, my drinking of tomato juice and water. So we also have some of this to keep ourselves awake and alert in the early hours. The traffic, I finally discovered how bad it is here in Florida, in Gainesville, Florida, and at this hour. So getting here is important, and getting here earlier is important. I'm discovering that, and I've got to find some alternative routes, QB.
Well,
we'll discuss this.
Yes, we will.
Afterwards.
Before we go to our next break, I want to briefly talk to, we both love the game of golf. Yeah. And the PGA season hasn't really started. It's getting ready to crank up.
Right.
But the President's Cup starts today. Are you excited?
I am. I like these events. I think these are cool. I like the President's Cup maybe almost as much as the Ryder Cup because we get the players from the Australia. We get the actually, African players.
I think that's where they're hosting it. Aren't they hosting it in
it could be. I haven't looked at that, but it could be. But the thing is that you don't get Jason Day in the Ryder Cup, and you don't get Louis Oosthuizen in the Ryder Cup, and so that opens the field up a little bit. So I do like that, yeah. And I think the American team will win the Ryder Cup as we go next time. I think it's in.
They're playing at Royal Melbourne Golf Club. You ever played there?
No, had a chance to.
You played down in Melbourne, Florida?
I passed on that. The only problem was it was a 20-hour flight, and the weather would have been bad because it was in the summer, which means they're in the wintertime. Right now, they're in the summertime, as we call this 70-degree weather here winter.
Well,
so
I can call my buddy Tony Rowell, who's the head coach of Melbourne High School football.
Yes.
Maybe they have Royal Melbourne Golf Club down in
there,
Melbourne, Florida.
and then we could be at Royal Melbourne. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if they did, and I'm sure he's a member. So it was good to see him. By the way, I got to just tell you, I played this thing called the Gator Open. You tried telling me about it, and so I finally, chapped up and got in there. And after the first hole, when I 5-putted number 8, I decided that the rest of the day would come down to skins. And I did not win a skin, but I did make a birdie on 15. But, man, I've never seen a golf course at the University of Florida play it like that. And it was everything you said it was, and it certainly was well put together by Scott Hampton at the University of Florida and the staff he has there. But I don't think putting on 14 on greens that are like this table, really conform to my game,
no,
or really anybody's game.
We try to tell you that. I don't think people realize how good that golf course is now.
Yeah, with the rough.
The greens are as good as you're going to find anywhere in the country.
It's hard, QB. Why do you like to play hard?
I like the competition, JC.
Well, it's competition, but you always think about, okay, this is the way you think.
like a challenge.
I like to play against the course. Well, I like to play against the course too, but I'd rather play against the guy I'm competing with.
And you can do that on a course that challenges you and not where every putt is flat. You like to play flat golf courses.
Well, I'll say at my age, 25 years ago, I would have been happy to try this and really get excited about it. Right now, I'm not that excited about it. I would not hold your breath on my participation next year, although things could change.
Just get better.
I did, and I'm getting better at tennis too.
Each day you're either getting better or you're getting worse.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, if you don't play, does that mean you're getting worse? Or if you don't play, does that mean or if you play and shoot 96, does that mean you're getting better?
No, it means you need to play tougher golf courses to prepare your game.
Okay. So we have the JC playbook for better golf here from our friend the QB here on Pot Up with Shane Matthews, Monday through Friday, 8 o'clock. JC will be here. That's me. We've done this before. We've been on the radio. We are doing a podcast now, and it's going to be fantastic. As you say, advertising opportunities, plenty available. Who can they contact to get involved here with us?
That's a great question. We'll get that answer after the break.
Let's get that break in, Taylor, and let's organize that so all of the people can keep this going right here. Back here with Pot Up with Shane Matthews. I'm John Cornell, along with the Hall of Famer. The thing about Facebook Live and YouTube, QB, is you can get this anywhere. We could be in Alaska and California.
We could be at Royal Melbourne.
Right now. And right now we have extended our reach, even here on the pilot show, to include text messaging. And we have a text on the text line, 352-353-7465, from Brock in Madison, Mississippi, which I believe is north of Jackson somewhere. Anyway, Brock wants to know, QB, enjoy the show. what is your current opinion on the NFL's MVP candidates going forward as we reach the end of the season? I think there's one obvious name, but I'd be happy to hear yours.
It's got to go to Lamar Jackson.
It has to now, doesn't it?
You know, I was on record.
That must be Brock's fantasy quarterback. Yeah.
I was on record, JC, and I looked like a fool on another radio show this summer. I didn't think Lamar Jackson could be a quarterback, a legit starting quarterback in the NFL because the previous.
Did you see what the Chargers did to him in the playoffs?
Well, the previous year, I can't remember how many games he started, but he threw for over 200 yards one time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you can't do that. But what they've done so well, Greg Roman, the offensive coordinator, for John Harbaugh, is they've designed this offense around him. You know, he gets out of the pocket and makes throws. He's still not a great thrower, but his mobility and the way he runs he's the quickest guy in the league with the ball in his hand. Mm-hmm. It's crazy. So I would go with Lamar Jackson. Now, if I were to start a franchise, he's not the quarterback I'm going to pick. That's Pat Mahomes.
Yeah.
He's the most talented quarterback in the league.
Sure, a traditional quarterback. But Lamar, you know, what else he's done is that he's really made better decisions with what he's going to do, whether he runs or passes, and he's not putting his body up at risk as much as, say, like Robert Griffin tried to do.
He's smart when he runs.
He is, and that he's going to protect himself better that way. But, you know, he'll flip a pass into the end zone on a little slant or something, and you wouldn't even think that was there. And there we go, the Ravens score. And certainly they have to be considered your favorite to win the AFC. They will likely have home field advantage. That is a good thing to make New England travel, to make Kansas City travel, and those are probably the two biggest challengers for the Ravens, who I tell you, man, I didn't see this coming, but they remind me, I'll just say this. Between them and San Francisco, I don't know who you would pick on a neutral field in good weather, but that would be, to me, the best matchup you could have in the NFL right now. I know that Seattle is challenging San Francisco, but that's another team that nobody really predicted. With the way Kyle Shanahan has made Jimmy Garoppolo so
well, he's a tremendous play caller.
It's unbelievable. The play calls he had against the New Orleans Saints in what was probably the game of the year this past weekend. Some of those plays were I don't know where they came from, and this guy is as good as there is in the league as an offensive coordinator / head coach. And San Francisco, to me, he's the coach of the year in the NFC, if there is such a thing. And obviously, I think you have to give Harbaugh that award in the AFC.
Yeah, you know, right now,
Lamar is amazing.
If I were to pick the NFL,
if you had a power rankings,
I'd put the Ravens at 1.
Yeah, and then
I would put, in no particular order. I guess I'd go Niners.
Yes.
Then Saints, and then the Chiefs.
KC. That's exactly.
Those are the 4 teams I think that'll be all in the AFC and NFC championship.
But you know what they say: the 4 best or the best doesn't always win the playoffs. It's just about getting in. And how many times have we seen a 6 seed like Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers get hot and find that magic in the playoffs to win something big and have a big year? And I would not count out for a second the Green Bay Packers, who've also put it together this year under that new coach.
Yeah, they have.
I mean, you have to put them 5, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, they've lost some games where they've looked really,
they're 10
really
and
bad.
3.
Yeah, but they've looked really bad in some of those losses. But, you know, I'm not sure. I like the Minnesota Vikings as well. I think with their defense, I think Kirk Cousins has played extremely well this year. But to me, in the AFC, it's a 2-team race. I think it's Chiefs and Ravens. I think the Patriots. Yeah. The Patriots, to me, are the Dallas Cowboys. They only can beat teams that have losing records. They can't beat anybody worth a darn. Now, they did beat Buffalo earlier in the year, but it would not surprise me. I think they play Buffalo this week or next week in Foxborough. I think Buffalo is a better football team than the Patriots.
Well, Buffalo is a playoff team. I mean, they will make the playoffs in all likelihood. They play Pittsburgh this weekend. You have to love the job Mike Tomlin's done in Pittsburgh with all the injuries. They are playoff. They will potentially make the playoffs as well. So the NFL is very interesting as we get toward the end of December. The whole year is coming to an end, but the most exciting part of the year, I think, is about to happen with both college and pro. And it's very exciting that JC and the QB are back once again here on Pod Up with Shane Matthews, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. We are doing this to have fun, but to also contribute and have people participate in on Facebook Live and on YouTube.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, we'll have some good guests. We'll probably have Chris Harry one day this week, FloridaGators.com senior writer, who not only writes and covers the Gators, he travels and he's at every practice with
I
them.
also saw Tim and Sam at Target the other day, and he is very excited about what that team is going to do with their new facility. We're talking Gators softball, Tim Walton and the Florida Gators softball team. I don't know what their prospects are this year, but he seems very excited.
They had their worst year, and they went to the World Series last year. So baseball should be very good this year.
Baseball will be great.
Exciting times
There's
here
a lot,
campus.
and I think basketball will get it straightened out. I think they've got too much talent to just suck.
Well,
and I think they're going to do that.
They will make the tournament. And that's the goal of every college basketball team is get into the big dance, and they will do that.
Well, Rick, Brock, and Reed, and along with Joe, thanks for participating with us. That's pretty much it. I mean, we are at the end of the road. QB, it's fun to get it started once again, and we'll be back tomorrow morning. You guys stay with us, and we'll see you then.